Prairie Plant Girl here. So today I thought I'd bring you along and we do just a quick, hopefully little update on my cherry trees. I've had, one of my very first videos was about taking cuttings from a cherry tree and how to get them to grow into a tree. I get a lot of requests for an update on the cutting that I took. Right here is the cutting that I took. I did a 1-year update on this cutting, and you can see that it's doing quite well. So this has been, I believe, 3 years now since I took this cutting, and I've moved it over to this part of my yard last spring, and it's doing quite well, and this is where I'm hoping it will stay. These trees get quite large but don't seem to be very long-lived. I believe it's an Amur Manchurian cherry, which is, from all my research that I've done, technically a choke cherry type cherry, a sour cherry. But they're really nice, larger fruit on them, and they're really great for like baking and jams and pies and things like that. But you can see it has that droopy kind of cherry branch. This one looks like it's been broken, but they have these kind of, I don't know, they just have a kind of a droopy look to me, and these nice big cherry leaves and the beautiful bark. So I took this off of a little bit larger tree that I had taken as a cutting off of an original tree that I had that succumbed to disease. These are very, seem to be very prone to a disease, and the tree eventually dies from that. But at this point, this tree is doing well. I'll have to fix this branch here that's gotten knocked about. In fact, it's just going to come off. I'm not going to do any cuttings off of this. I think I have all the trees that I want in this yard. But I have added this spring a couple of other cherry trees, and then last year, 2 years ago, I added another one. These have been developed by the University of Saskatchewan, and I thought I would take you over and just let you have a look at those, so you could see how those are doing and what they look like. This tree here that I planted about 2 years ago, I believe there's a video on planting a cherry tree. I'll link to it if I have it. I can't remember if I did one or not. This is the Romeo cherry developed by the University of Saskatchewan. And I'm not sure how old this tree was. It was a pretty good sized tree when I purchased it. It has put on probably about almost 2 feet of growth, I think, since then, but it's still a pretty good sized tree. Nice, strong leaves. This area here gets a lot of water come through in the spring, and it's heavy clay soil. And I'm finding the trees struggle a little bit at this time of year if the moisture stays around. So I've really pulled back the ground covering and done as much as I can to kind of get the water to drain out of here as much as possible. And it also seems like it has been having a little bit of a chlorosis issue, so I've been treating it with an acidifier. I'm not sure if that's common with cherries, but that seems to be the case. This year it flowered quite nicely. We got a pretty heavy frost after that, but I managed to have a few fruits coming on it. It was already fruiting the year I planted it, but it did drop those fruit from planting. And then last year, the weather just took the fruit out again on me. So hopefully that's not a common thing. Our weather is changing so much here, I'm just not sure. But this is supposed to be a fully hardy tree to zone 2, I believe. Like I said, the University of Saskatchewan, which is north of me, developed this tree along with some others. So I've planted some of their other trees this year, and I just purchased them as small little potted kind of rooted cuttings. So let's have a look at those. So next to Romeo, we have Juliet here. So like I said, the University of Saskatchewan developed these trees, and they've made a really fun line, like Valentine, Cupid, Romeo, Juliet. They're just a more desirable cherry for eating. Coming up with some cherries that are hardy in our area, that develop nice large fruit and are reasonably sweet. So the Romeo, I believe, is one that's good for fresh eating, but a little more tart. I'll look up the brick scale and I'll put it on. That's the measurement of the sweetness. And then the Juliet, I believe, is a little bit sweeter. I can't remember, one's sweeter and one's, they're very similar. So I'm excited to see how they turn out that way. Both these trees are going to get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, which will make a nice entrance to my garden area here without casting too much shade along the main garden. I used to have another tree here, but it just wasn't doing well. It had grown up as a seedling in my yard, so I took it out and replaced it with this. I think this will be a better tree for this space and be a nice balance with the Romeo once it catches up. So that's the Juliet Cherry. And tucked over here by the fountain, I have Cupid. And so again, another one of the University of Saskatchewan trees. And it's doing quite well. The Cupid and the Juliet came to me as just small little trees, and they've already put on just a ton of growth. I'm very impressed with this because it was cold, a really cold spell. It was nasty when I got them, pouring buckets of rain down. And I just brought them out real quick because it was supposed to be just horrible for weeks. And so I just brought them out and I just plunked them in the ground real quick, just because I thought they'll do better in the ground than sitting in little pots drying out, but I didn't have a lot of hope for them, and they've done really well for me so far. Seem to have rooted in and are growing strong. So like I said, this is the Cupid Cherry, and again, it's supposed to be a little bit sweeter cherry, good for fresh eating, but also good for baking and things like that. So here we are back over at that cutting I took in one of those very original videos that I did right back when I was starting my channel. And like I said, it's doing really well. Hopefully you found it interesting to see some of the cherry trees that I have growing in my yard and see an update on this cutting that I took. It's been moved a few times, so you know, it hasn't maybe put on as much growth as it could, but now it's in its final place. I've decided where I want it. And I'm thinking it'll do really well here. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.